Why, hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Humans Fighting Homelessness. And now we got the big wig for you this time because we have the founder of Eden Village of Wilmington. Now, not only is he the founder of Eden Village, he's a smart cookie. So I did some research about him. He just so happened to have gone to Stanford, Duke, and maybe just did his residency in Harvard. It's all out on the internet, Tom. I was able to find the juice on you. But, so what I love about this project is I didn't really know a lot about Eden Village up until maybe 3, 4 weeks ago. But it was very quickly and very evident that you are a man on a mission that's been given a calling. So I want to just jump right on in and let everybody watching today tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Molly. It's an honor to be here with you today and to talk with folks that are interested in this and watching. First off, I'll just say everybody is welcome to be involved in this. Molly has jumped on board, and that has been great. So we welcome everybody. But briefly, so I grew up in Springfield, Missouri. Dated my wife. We started dating. It went on our first date in 5th grade there. She is also from Springfield, and lived here in Wilmington 25 years now. I'm an anesthesiologist. You can see my garb. I'm actually in the hospital today. I do have coverage, so everybody is getting their anesthetics well. But it is. We have Kim and I've been married 32 years now. We got 3 kids. Our last one just went off to college. And we just love the community. That's just briefly a little bit about who I am. Big part of my life is my family, no question about it.
So the third kid is off and running. So you need to keep yourself busy, right? You're shifting from, okay, we're going to do Eden Village now. Why not?
That's
So
right. It's exactly right.
it's well, we only benefit from our community. So how did Eden Village of Wilmington come to be? Tell us a little bit about that.
So as a doctor, my wife's a nurse, and we have historically done short-term mission work. And we got involved in a group over in Africa in a few years. So we've seen impoverished folks all throughout the world. And we certainly know there are impoverished people in America as well. But on this one particular trip about 3 years ago now, we were in the slums of Nairobi. And I was there with a great friend of mine. Go check out he's an orthopedic surgeon, been in Africa for many years, and he runs a thing called Naomi's Village, him and his wife, great duo, and they are inspiration of it, just to get up and go do something. So we were dealing with impoverished folks, looking on a little housing project in Africa, and Bob Mendonza says to me, hey, you need to either pick up and move to be here with us, or do something on a daily basis where you're actually delivering health care to those people in need around you. So we prayed about it. We realized that we could move the needle in Wilmington. So we started talking to the hospital. Got really motivated when I really dug into the data. As you mentioned, I have studied in some great places, and I met some inspiring people, and I learned to research problems. And so I have been to our hospital and gone through some of the data, and I found that we have a subset of chronically homeless people and that come to the hospital regularly. Like one guy was admitted to our hospital 246 times in a 3-year period. Now, as a physician and nurse, we would see these people come through. We knew that they were there, but it really wasn't until we started piecing the data together. So the hospital's really been helpful in regard to that. And so that led us to this kind of, hey, let's get up and do something. So then I met a guy downtown who, down at the Anchor, a guy named Philip Chris, and he runs the Anchor Church. It's a great ministry for the homeless. And he gets me all fired up about trying to put in tiny homes in downtown. And I started researching. I go, hey, let's look at tiny homes and let's build some, and what will they really cost? And I ran across the group in Springfield, Missouri, our hometown, talked to my parents. My parents are like, yeah, we had been involved in sponsoring one of their homes, and this is a great group. So I called them up And I called them up and I said, hey, we're interested in tiny homes in Wilmington. Great guy there, the real visionary of the whole program, Nate Schluter. And Nate gets on, he goes, you know, the founder of Eden Village is another orthopedic surgeon. I love orthopedic surgeons. But he says his brother, that's David Brown, the orthopedic surgeon, the original founder, his brother lives in Wilmington, just a few miles from you. And he's a retired CPA. His name's Tom Brown, and he'd like to be involved. So we got a group of advocates together, kind of homeless advocates in town. We had a dinner, and we brought the Springfield guys out to meet everybody and to kind of talk through what Eden Village was and see if we could actually get enough momentum to go. And then, but people just started lining up, and we've just had an amazing journey of what we would call God-centered things that are leading us in this direction. And so it's been just so humbling for Kim and I to watch this happen. Just that's kind of the genesis of how Eden Village came about. A model in Missouri for us just to replicate. I'm no expert in homelessness, right? I'm just a guy. And I think that's one important thing, is that you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be a social worker. You don't have to have some a degree in substance abuse, or just come in and love people. And that's what we're in the process of doing. So we stepped out a little bit. We've promised to keep this rolling. So we're financially invested to make this happen. And we think that we can do this in the next year or so.
So here's my question. So what timeline are we thinking about here? So my question is, you know, Tom, when did this meeting happen to when we are now? So how far are you along?
I just wrote this down on it's going to go on our new website, but we had that meeting January 27th. We had 30 people. We met at Henry's restaurant, and we just talked through kind of, hey, what would it look like if we did a tiny home village? And when we walked out of that meeting, the mayor was having dinner at the table. And so we said, hey, would you mind if we sat down and talked with you about some of these things? He said, sure. We got in contact with the city planners. We got some construction guys involved, and that happened through the next few months. In May, we actually had the land come to us. There was a guy who was doing a development, was going to put a nursing home in this area and do some things that the community was not anxious or excited about. And he said, hey, I'd rather you guys figure out a way to do tiny homes in there. It's right next door to the Salvation Army's future site, so you'll have incredible social support. And that guy's name is Matt Scharf, and he gave us a deal on the land. And that got, so that happened the last week of May, that we actually got the land. And then the funding pieces have come in. From a Facebook post, we had an incredibly large donor step in and say, hey, we're with you. And let me tell you, that was one of the most heartwarming things. They said, we've been watching what you've been doing, and we'll step in and we'll match the first 16 homes that you get funded. And they can be unrestricted funds that allow you to do infrastructure or whatever you need to do. Talk about a blessing. This really gave us the shot in the arm to say, hey, let's go. And all the pieces, like we said, have fallen in since that time. That's the time frame for it. What we're doing in this next little bit is we just passed the subdivision review board and the technical review committee of the city. So the city planners, when you want to build a subdivision, again, I'm no builder, but we've learned about this because we've had these incredible people step in. I got something clicking on my thing. But so incredible people step in, like this engineering group, Coastal Land Design, a guy named Jeff Petroff. He has taken this from the start to all the way through the whole process pro bono, hundreds, if not thousands of hours. And you can get online and see the planning for it. You know, they submitted 30 some pages of engineering drawings. And so the city just signed off on that last week. Very exciting. To do a development like that is really a very challenging thing. And so so here we are. We have approval for 32 homes in a 3,000 square foot community center, and we've got builders lined up ready to do it. So the first step is now to get funding in and to bring people into the project, and we really wanted to get a model home on site. So that happens the first week of January. And then on January 16th, we're having an open house where people can come and walk through in COVID friendly fashion. One at a time, you can go in the house. And I think that is a game changer for folks. You walk in, these homes are really nice. And Molly, one of the key things is the solution to poverty is dignity. The solution to homelessness is community. You can't just, that's really, it's been a loss of a community feeling that you really try to build by putting these small villages. And we think we can put small villages throughout the city until we really move the needle and address this problem. So it's that community sense, and you get that feeling when you walk out there. So when that home is there, we hope the funding rolls in. Each home can be sponsored by a corporate or a bank or a family or a church or a civic group or somebody who's motivated like you, Molly, to get all your friends together and to give money for a particular person. And so the funding rolls in. We do infrastructure in the spring. That means we put water, sewer, electrical lines in, foundations, and then the homes are built in Laurinburg, North Carolina. The first one is sitting on a trailer ready to go. It's got all the appliances in it, is turnkey ready. So we'll put some furniture in it. We lift it with the crane, put it on the foundation. In about 4 hours, it's hooked up, ready to go. So our next real hurdle is funding for infrastructure. So we have a grant team that has been writing grants furiously all year long. We have been joined by a gal by the name of Sherry Frost. Sherry used to run the grant system for the Disaster Relief Fund for the Red Cross. So she was responsible for raising millions of dollars each year, and she knows how to write grants and how to get this stuff. Her team is in New York and Florida, and they have come in and they've said, we'll figure out how to get the infrastructure together with the other funding that comes in from the home sponsors. We think we can get this done within a year's time. If we can be open before it gets cold in 2021, man, I just think that's a great goal. Now, whether we achieve that or we get done in 2022, and then we start planning our next village after that, this is not just going to stop. It's not the end of the project. We are going to roll. I think we have an opportunity to do, there's 2 more villages right in that same area that we can do. So that's our general timeline and the excitement of what happens the first week of January. So again, that time is January 16th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll have trolley stop hot dogs out there for folks. You can come through, walk through the house, walk the land, get the literature. We'd love to have anybody that wants to go out there look at it.
So, Tom, I'm going to encourage everybody watching right now to probably even, there'll be some information on your website, on Facebook. So share with your friends too, right? You can see that this is not something that's going away. This is something that's going to be here for a lifetime to really, really make an impact, not only in our community, but in every single human being who gets to live in this tiny home. And I just want to dig a little bit deeper on the specialness of the community, because across the nation, there's a lot of organizations and people trying to tackle it with buildings. But I believe Eden Village has some special sauce. And the woman that we're raising funds for is an amazing woman that she can't wait to get in there to be the welcome wagon and have all these events, and her friend getting in there to do the garden that's going to be there to sustain them and eat clean. I mean, I don't want to give away the thunder. So you tell everybody, what is the special sauce?
I think so. We are modeling an idea that is functional, that works out of Missouri. We are merely taking the things that they have proven. And so Nate had worked for about 8 years at a place called Community First in Texas. It's a giant tiny home community. It is the Mac Daddy, 50 acres of small tiny homes. But many of them have no plumbing and they have a common bath. And so Nate always said, and when you put so many people in one area that you don't know everybody's name, you lose a sense of community. And that was what was so important for Nate. So the thing he did is he took Community First's idea and went to Springfield and he said, hey, let's build small groups of tiny homes. So I think the key thing is 20 to 30 homes, so you know everybody's name. And I think that the other thing that is a little bit unique about this, people talk a lot about permanent supportive housing and the best practices. So you need to have supportive personnel on site. Eden Village does not employ the social workers. We have volunteer social workers, we have volunteer physicians, but we will not employ those folks, and it decreases the cost of the project. Those folks are welcome in. So we'll have an office with office space, and so the professionals can come in and do case management in a very efficient fashion. Here now we have 32 people that have just a couple of them can work with, and so it can be very time efficient for their management. So a few professional social workers can mix in from outside. So that's a neat model that Nate has really perfected. The other thing that is different, it is a $300 a month fixed fee, and that includes their utilities. So some supportive housing systems pay a third of their income, but Nate is convinced that with a fixed fee, you now have an incentive to know the future and to work. If you're able, go and work, and you can generate more and more. If your rent goes up, the more you work, it's maybe a disincentive to work. And so, there's so much dignity in going and working and being part of whatever you're going to do in volunteer work, or you're going to have some income. And about half of the people in Eden Village in Missouri have a part-time job. You can work 20 hours a week with full disability. So again, all these people, the narrow focus of Eden Village also, I think, is a unique, special thing as well. So we're not trying to figure out the solution to all of homelessness, right? We are focused on the chronically homeless that have a fixed or known physical or mental disability. So you have to have government income through your whatever disability it comes in that is fixed. Most of those people are, say, $700 upwards to $1,000, and then they pay a fixed fee to come to live there, and they do it in a monthly basis. That's the day-to-day goal that some folks need who are struggling with some of the issues that these folks are struggling with, to know that monthly they got to be part of the game. You got to, and I know it's not a game for them to live that way, but it is. They have to be involved in the garden. There's community opportunities for credit at the local store. So we have a little store on site where if you mow somebody's yard in the community, you can go and get staples, food staples, cleaning staples, those kind of things. It's a really neat model. Nate has worked through it now over a decade, and it just frankly works. And I think the success rate of it is evident. And they have had two people in there now. They were founded 4 years ago. They've been functioning about 2.5 years. They have their second village up and going, and they've had two people that decided that they didn't want to live in that community. That's an unbelievable, that's over 90% success rate. And so it is really hard if you do house people. Let's say you find a homeless person on the street and you put them in an apartment and you pay for the apartment, but they're there by themselves. Well, what's the first thing they do? Their friends find out they're there, they move in, then we end up with this very high eviction rate. And we want to avoid that. This, and Eden Village, this is permanent housing. This is their home forever. And so we want them to come in, and so our social workers are working very hard to find teams of people that are already living together in homelessness that can move in and be friends and are supportive of each other and want to live in this type of environment. So the last thing I would say that is neat about Eden Village is our connection with the hospital. So we talk about housing and healthcare through housing. So when you have diabetes and you have high blood pressure and you have these things that I see every day, it's very hard to take care of those things on the street. Heck, insulin has to be refrigerated. So that's a game changer right there. And so if you're going to heal from whatever you're going through, or you're going to have the chronic illness, then we need to get you in a house setting. And so housing through healthcare, connecting and partnering with the hospital to identify these people who are really the highest utilizers of services, and we could make them better. Wow, I think that's a really, really neat thing. So a series of things that makes it special. And then one of the other things are the people around, people like you coming in and befriending and actually getting involved. We talk about different charities, and one of the key successful things about charity is you need to have a personal relationship with the person that you're helping. You need to know their name. So if you're giving money to someone on the street and you don't know their name or you don't know their story, then you probably ought to think twice about it and take the time, invest the effort to get to know them. So Eden Village has home teams set up, 4 to 6 people who promise to meet monthly with that resident to come on. Molly, I have no doubt you'll be on LeeAnne's home team and you will be her friend and her advocate. You're not to give her anything. You are to encourage her through life. Talk, tell her your problems, become in a dignified manner, just become part of it. In Missouri, they have bank presidents who meet weekly with previously homeless folks who are their very good friends now. And it changes the whole stigmata associated with this because we all could be in that situation. So home teams and that concept of bringing the community in, personal relationships, added in the guy we got that's going to run this. His name is Sean Hayes. I hope you meet Sean. You maybe have met him. He is a giant man, hulk of a man who has 10 daughters, all from the same wife, and they live in a home together in harmony. Right now, they're facing the medical issues and challenges of COVID in that household. I cannot imagine the challenges that they are working through, and our prayers are with Sean right now. But Sean worked at the Yahweh Center, has a specialty in managing crisis relationships. He is just the right guy to lead. So once it's built, Tom and Kim, the rest of us, I'll come in and I'll do some medicine stuff. I'll be part of the support system. I'm never leaving, but Sean will manage and run this center. And if you spend some time with him, you will immediately want to put your arms around him because he is a force for good. So those are some of the special things. Obviously, that's a lot, but
Well,
there's
I'll
really
give a shout out to his wife too, because I got to meet her and she has 4 children, 2 sets of twins, right? Yeah. So they got twins in the front end and twins on the back end. So I'm like 4 of those 6 children, I won't go into the detail. You can know how that all worked. But she graduated from Cameron Business School at UNCW too. So, I mean, I love all the brain power, all the heart power. Like LeeAnne, who we're sponsoring, was actually recommended to me by Randy Evans of Walking Tall. Yeah. And 2 months earlier, my dear friend, Mary Carl at Rise Up Community Farm mentioned the same woman without the name, but it's the same human. And she wants to run your store. And you know what she said she really likes about it? She said, your rules. So there's some rules that when you live in the home, she's excited about.
Yeah. And I think those rules have come over time within the communities in Missouri. And so we're not making them up. They are tried and true, and they were developed by the community themselves. So they get to make their rules. You can't have a gun. You can't smoke inside one of the buildings. You can smoke outside. You can't be drunk outside of your building, but you can drink inside. So you can be a good neighbor. This whole idea of the community store in Missouri, most of them mow each other's yard. And so then you can go and you can mow a yard outside and one of the neighbors. And so then all of a sudden the neighbors get involved in this and they're like, oh my gosh, this whole sense of community is really good. And then they can go to the store with their community credit and LeeAnne can help them get whatever they need. So yeah.
And she likes that there's only 2 people allowed in the tiny home at a time. She's like, that's fantastic.
Yeah, you can have a guest, but they have to register at the front desk. It is a controlled biometric entrance, so fingerprint entrance. So only the good guys can get in. And that does help prevent some of the issues that arise with folks that are homeless and have friends that are homeless. In Missouri, they have a big, long waiting list. We have had over 200 people apply that contacted me directly. I've tried to respond to every one of them, and we try to help plug them into the proper things because we're not going to have houses for a year. So we ran some stuff on the news, and we had 200 people apply. And my goodness, it breaks your heart. It just breaks your heart in regard to the need that is out there. And so again, we're focused on chronically homeless. We can then help and go address. There are incredible resources in Wilmington. Shout out to the Good Shepherd, Salvation Army. They're dealing with the kind of the short-term homeless person that comes in and try to get you back on your feet. The vast majority of people that are homeless figure it out in under a year. So there's, let's say, 10 to 15% that are in this chronically homeless group. If you put those numbers, you can look nationwide. There's about 570,000 homeless people in the nation when they count. And the count is an estimate. It's probably twice that, or maybe now with COVID, 3 times that number. So it's hard to get a full real number, but of that number, about 10% of them have been homeless for over a year. So in North Carolina, the last count last year in January, 9,300 people were homeless. And it ended up being about 1,100 that were chronically homeless. Now we can house 1,100 people. It's a target that is acceptable. In our tri-county area, Brunswick, Pender, and New Hanover counties, they counted in the chronically homeless category 52 people that we know, that we have documented as being chronically homeless, 52. So the real number is probably around 100. Maybe if we're shooting high, 125. But at the end of the day, if we do 3 Eden villages, we really move the needle on that group and bring the chronically homeless, people who've been out there for years and years and years, off the streets into a dignified way of living with a sense of community for good.
Well, I have to tell you as we close, because I know you need to go back to bringing people into the world and
Take 'em
out of
up.
the world. But, there's a reason I'm wearing this hat. I don't know if you can see, it's the American flag. And I wore this intentionally because we as Americans need to come together and join forces in this. In many ways, whether it is our time, our resources, our talents, fiscally, or whatever you can give. And some it's just talking to others about what you just gained today as a result of this 30 minutes and share this with others, right? I got on board when my husband's F3 group, it's Cape Fear F3, Fellowship, Faith, and Fitness. Okay, I got it. So they sponsored the first, and they want to sponsor a veteran, a male veteran. So this is what I love about you, Tom, and everybody involved. It's like you're growing this intentionally, strategically, but also organically, so that we can feel a part of what greatness is now and what it will become. So I have one last question for you, Tom. Let's see if I can stump the anesthesiologist. So, and ironically, my husband just sent this to me 2 seconds before our interview. So it was, I don't know if you know who John Maxwell is. He's a speaker and he does these things called Minute with Maxwell's. And
I've
it was
read Maxwell's books. I love him. Yeah.
Yay. Oh, good. Okay. So, okay. You have a half chance of getting this right.
And my middle name is Maxwell too, so I'm all in. Go ahead.
Sweet. Okay. No, you can't schmooze me. You still need to get it right. So, no, but seriously though, and he talked about when you stop loving people, you should stop leading your people. And what you're talking about is leadership and leading people, right? So I want to know, what does it mean to you to lead with love?
Well, I mean, I think the whole world is based upon relationships. And I think for me personally, the lesson of Jesus Christ was all about set aside all the other stuff and just love people. And that happens through this sense of relationship. And so Eden Village is an open place for everybody to come. There are no restrictions on race or sex or sexual orientation or your ethnicity or your religion. We want everybody to come to the table to help this solution. Certainly there are some religious people involved in this, but it's not going to be a place where you're going to get preached to and you have to do certain things. We instead want to live life in a complete open fashion with everybody. So my time in California was a great opportunity for me to learn about how that looks. I got to see all sorts of different ways of life. Growing up in Missouri, it's very different than the world in Boston, and then the East Coast where we have settled and call our home. And so perhaps the best person the example that I get to live with every day is my wife. She loves folks unconditionally. I have got to watch that for my entire life, and try to step along with her. But if you get to know her, she's one of the most loving people in the world too, and really just to absolutely anybody who comes up. So we welcome everybody. We hope that you spread this message. Pray for the entire system in regard to things. If you're in a position to give money, you can go on the website EdenVillageWilmington.org, and I personally will answer and respond to each one of those things that comes in. And we really do want to, hey, if the entire community bring this concept of love and the things that you have represented and shown, Molly, with all of your friends coming through to help LeeAnne. This is just such a humbling thing. So I don't know if that's the right answer in regard to things, but the center part of my life is through Christ, and that's loving others.
Here we go. Let's keep it simple. In the spirit of loving others, we're 2,000 short of raising $20,000 in 4 days. And so we're soon there with LeeAnne, and God put on my heart 40K in 40 days. So we have until January 20th. But if this is something that and I'm not a fundraiser, let me just say for the record. So if you want to reach out to me also and be like, I don't know, I feel called to this, but I've never done this. Like, I didn't either. So let's all walk this together, and we'll figure it out, because there are people counting on us and are hopeful so that they too can walk and live a better life. So together we can, everyone. So it's great when the people believe in the leader, but it's even that more special when the people believe in the leader. So it's that important. That's John Maxwell as well. So Tom, it is like, I believe in you, and please know that there's a lot of people who believe in you. So we're going to come together and we're going to make this happen and have it ripple by walking in a light that brings light and the end of homelessness. So thank you very much, Tom, for your time. Get back to helping people.
Thank you very much, Molly. An honor to speak with you. Have a great holiday, and we'll continue to move forward. I'm humbled to be standing at the front of this right now. I much more feel like it's a large line that's all marching together. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yeah. Will do.